No, your eyes did not deceive you. This is an honest-to-gosh 4570 black powder rifle fed with detachable box magazines. This is the model 1885 Remington-Lee Navy magazine rifle, the first detachable box magazine rifle in the world. I'm going to shoot it standing offhand first because that's how I like to shoot, but I promise I'll shoot it from the bench and show you the accuracy after I'm done. Here's the offhand group. Not my best shooting, but it's hard to see through those clouds of smoke. If you're curious what my load is, it's 60 grains of 1F powder with a 405 grain 4570 bullet. And I might need to go to smaller grain powder because look at all of that flame leaving the muzzle. That's wasted energy. The magazines load very easily. Mine hold 5 rounds of 4570. Some people say they're supposed to hold 6, but I definitely am only getting 5 in my magazine. Of course, you can have one in the chamber, but my magazines only fit 5. And to keep everyone down in the comments happy, all right, I'll shoot it from the dang bench. So from the bench, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Not my best shooting, but hard to see through that fog. And over here, a couple of these holes, at least 2 of them, are from rifle musket. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. So if you try to board my ship, you're dead. Either way. Hi, I'm Brett, a recovering YouTube pseudo expert from papercartridges.com. And now that we've shot it, because this is Paper Cartridges' YouTube channel, we're going to talk about this rifle for a little bit. And there's so much going on with with the Remington-Lee Navy. It is a living anachronism because it appears at a time when rifle technology is changing so fast. This rifle shows up during a 10-year window where firearms design is starting to become what we would call modern, with metallic ammunition and a magazine fed, locking lug, bolt actions, but we're still stuck with black powder. So this Model 1885 is an improvement from the Model 1882 and the 1879 Remington-Lee. It was patented by James Paris Lee, same guy who's responsible for the action for the Lee Metford and later the Lee Enfield rifle. That's why the bolt action and the magazine are probably familiar to you. The Lee action, patented in the 1870s, and it is the first detachable box magazine system ever. So we have a detachable box magazine and the Lee action, but this is before smokeless powder. So it is almost a living anachronism in that regard. And Lee put it in 4570, which was very smart, to put the rifle in the cartridge that the military might be interested in. And so naturally, of course, the United States Army was very interested in a detachable magazine, a rapid firing weapon system. And the Army ordered 1 million of these.
No, they didn't.
Oh, they didn't?
No, they didn't.
Oh, none? So the Army tests it. There was a magazine rifle commission. And alongside the Hotchkiss, the Remington Keen, and the Lee actually came out on top. The Army recommended it as a magazine rifle. But the Army is just not ready yet to go to a magazine rifle system. And there's reasons for that. We're very quick to dogpile on the Army and think, you old fogies who were so stuck with your trapdoor rifles and you didn't see the change on the horizon, which is fair. But there were also other more practical reasons why the Army wasn't ready to go to such a rapid firing, you could say modern, detachable magazine system. The U.S. Army is very small. And so in the 1870s and 1880s, the Army is not fighting any other countries. Most of what they're doing is still pacifying the West. So they're the campaigns out in the West against the various Native American tribes. And these campaigns, you could say, are taking place in very remote areas. So on the frontier, logistics is a challenge because your ammo has got to get to you. You can take a train out there, but then at some point, it's got to go onto a cart or a wagon or get thrown in saddlebags and hauled out to where you're at. So ammunition is very heavy. It's very hard to resupply. And you don't want a rifle where a soldier, if a sergeant isn't paying attention, the soldier can fire all of his ammunition off in like 2 minutes, which can happen if you have a magazine rifle. So the Army wants slow, methodical, aimed fire. And that seems to be where war is going in the 1870s and 1880s. The future war, even in Europe, everyone is anticipating much longer combat distances. So slow, methodical aim fire, making every shot count, seems to be the way war is going. So the Army does not, in fact, adopt in the 1880s this rifle, but the Navy is looking for a rifle, and the Navy has different criteria for what they want in their rifle. And they anticipate having different needs. So it's the 1870s and 1880s. Now, this is what a cutting edge warship launched in 1885 looks like. And yes, those are sails. There has not been a modern naval battle with modern fleets since 1866. So the navies are kind of guessing what future naval warfare is going to look like, and there's still a strong possibility that you might get boarded by an enemy ship, or you might need to board the enemy ship and capture them. Down in South America, there's some wars where there are ships still being boarded. The Huascar is being taken and recaptured in some of the South American wars. So it seems likely that the enemy may be approaching you, And that's not the time when you're on a ship and there's an enemy ship trying to board you. That's not the time for slow, methodical, deliberate aimed fire. You need to freaking unload. You've got to defeat the enemy before they defeat you. You want maximum sustained fire, shooting faster than the other guy so that you can either board his ship or stop him from boarding you. And then there's also torpedoes. In 1885, this is the new menace for warships, and they're getting better in the 1880s, but for the most part, they run very shallow and they run very slow. And some riflemen up in your masts can still take them out at this time, but you need to shoot fast. You got to sink the torpedoes before they get to you. There's also the possibility for the Navy to have to land places and send landing parties ashore where you're probably going to be vastly outnumbered wherever you end up landing. So your landing party needs to have maximum firepower. It's another reason to have magazine weapons. So there's a clear need. The Navy understands we need a magazine rifle. And the question comes down to what magazine do we want to adopt? So there's two magazines which are established and in use. They have been for decades by this point. There's quick load devices that takes a single shot rifle and kind of converts it to being mag loaded. And then you have, of course, the magazine, detachable box magazine type, like the Model 1885. And there's pros and cons to each style of magazine that the Navy's looking into at this time. So the detachable magazine, it sticks out of the rifle. It can get lost. The magazines are, they're loose. And they're sort of fragile, although by the model 1885, they had been much improved. So this is a robust magazine. It's not rattly like the new like the 5.56 mags that we get today. That magazine, you probably drive a truck over it. But still, you can lose them. It sticks out of the rifle, can get damaged. Those are all concerns, legitimate concerns. I forgot to mention also that these magazines are expensive. They're joined from two pieces by hand, so they take a long time to make and they're expensive. That's another reason why you might not want a detachable magazine at this time. Whereas a tube magazine, you can't lose a tube magazine that's inside the gun. And it's established technology. There have been tube magazines around for, like I said, decades by this point. But the problem with the tube magazine is that you get one quick burst of fire. You can unload a lot of rounds quickly, but once that tube is empty, it's a slow reload. You got to thumb one round in at a time before your gun is back up. Whereas with the detachable magazine, you fire, you're empty, you drop the mag, slap a new mag in, and your gun is back up in like 2 seconds. So the Navy is sold on the detachable magazine, and they buy really only modest numbers of the Remington-Lee. Of course, it's the Navy, they're not the Army. They don't need as many rifles. But sailors are, when they are issued the rifles, they get multiple magazines that they carried in mag pouches on belts. The mag pouches also had single loops for individual rounds for single loaded, but they got a belt with multiple magazines. Now, the rifle has a clever spring plate built into the design so that when the magazine is removed, you can still single load one round at a time. But when the magazine is popped in place, that plate moves out of the way. And it also serves as a spring that will eject the empty magazine, which clears the magazine well so you can speedily reload a new loaded magazine. So that was the theory, is while the enemy's far away, they're at long range, we can shoot one round at a time, we can single load, and we can use the long range capability of this pretty beefy 4570 cartridge and a big long barrel. But when the time comes, the enemy gets close, the enemy ship is coming at us and they want to board us, that's when you just mag dump after mag dump and take the enemy out before they board you. And things will change, of course, when the Army adopts a magazine rifle. The detachable reloadable magazine is is superseded by the charger clip, and the magazine would never be removed except if you needed to clean, for instance. It's not intended to be reloaded with new magazines. But the 1885 Remington-Lee is among the last of the black powder era rifles. So it's smokeless powder was around the corner. The very next year, 1886, France comes out with the monstrosity they call the Lebel, and launches the smokeless powder revolution, small bore rifles. So there was very rapid obsolescence for rifles like the Model 1885 in black powder. So these were relegated to naval militia use. And the another kick in the teeth was that the 500 grain bullet in 4570 didn't like to run in these rifles. It liked the 405 grain older style bullet, which was getting harder and harder to source into the 1880s, 1890s. So it had a very short service life because it appeared during this short window of such rapid change. And the Navy goes all super futuristic again and adopts the 6 millimeter Remington Navy, the straight pull bolt. But this rifle, the Model 1885, is still the ancestor, you could say, of every modern day magazine fed firearm. And it's the ancestor of the concept of reloading the gun by dropping an empty mag and reloading a loaded one. So a lot started with this design. And of course, that Lee action goes on as the 303 goes on as the Lee Enfield, which was used through the 1950s. My dad was alive when the British Army was still using the Lee action as their frontline battle rifle. So not all that long ago. So the influence of this design definitely lasted a lot longer than many others. That just goes to show how freaking modern this gun was when it appeared in the 1870s. And it is so much fun to shoot. I just got to say, this is one of my very favorite rifles. It always draws a lot of attention at the range, and it's hard not to because you dump 2 mags, that's 600 grains of black powder, and you're basically putting a smoke screen down the rest of the range, which is fun. All the kids with their ARs always get frustrated. But it is a lot of fun. You will definitely see this rifle again on the channel. It's just so much fun to shoot. I'd like to take it out to 300 yards, see what it does at 300, because the bore is absolutely mint in this particular rifle. But well, I hope you enjoyed that. Thanks for watching. I'd really appreciate it if you'd like and subscribe if you like this sort of content. And I look forward to seeing you next time.